So look, let's be real. If you didn't play Pokemon as a kid, what were you playing it? You probably thought you were too cool to play it, or you only had a PSP, and who the fuck owned a PSP? But anyway, that's besides the point. If you were like me, you grew up alongside the Pokemon franchise and was probably one of the only things you cared about as a kid. Whether that being the TV show, the trading card game, which let's be real, no one actually played the fucking trading card game. Everyone would just open packs and get tins and hope they'd get a holographic or EX card right. And obviously the video games. After a long day of my brain trying to figure out what 5 times 6 was and what a fucking fraction is, all I wanted to do was catch 'em all. Hi, my name's Trav, I hope you're all doing well, and I'm going to take you on a trip down memory lane. So Christmas 2006, I obtained my first Pokemon game, and that being Pokemon Diamond. And me being an intelligent kid who had owned DS games before, I could spot a DS game wrapped up as a present from over a mile away. It's like certain presents, you know what they are. It's just a matter of what game. And while obviously it turned out to be Pokemon Diamond. I didn't want Pokemon Pearl because Palkia was pink and obviously pink is for girls. At least that's how my 6-year-old brain worked. And plus look at fucking Dialga, that thing's way fucking cooler than Palkia anyway. Anyway, so I whacked Pokemon Diamond into the DS Lite I had at the time and begun on my first Pokemon adventure. When loading up the game for the first time, you'll be met by the Pokemon Professor of that game. Each iteration of professors over the games that are all named after trees oddly, all have the same function and role as far as story goes. They act as a mentor and is the one person responsible for the start of your Pokemon journey. Without them you wouldn't have a Pokédex, or more importantly a Pokemon to go on an adventure with. Other than that, the Professor doesn't do much else throughout the game. He's kind of like that one family member you don't really keep in touch with, but every now and then you check in just to see how you're doing. But in this case it's to show off the animals you poached right out their wild habitats, and that you now keep stored digitally in a computer. Which, just thinking about that's kind of messed up. Anyway, after spamming the A button and trying to skip every line of text possible, which you'll learn to find out was a big mistake, you're in the world of Pokemon. After following your rival around for a bit, you end up getting to pick your starter. I went ahead and picked Turtwig, on the sole reason that I thought he looked cool. Without much time to react, you're thrown into your first ever Pokemon battle. And boy, don't you feel that adrenaline rush. At this point in the game, you don't even have an option to run. You can't pussy your way out of this one, so best believe this is a fight to the death. After 2 or 3 consecutive tackles, that Starly's down and out for the count. And 6-year-old me was thinking this is fucking great, so I went ahead and steamrolled every other wild Pokemon I saw. I didn't care about catching Pokemon, and the main reason for that being I didn't know how. As I said earlier on in the video, I would spam A through every single text of dialogue. This wasn't no English lesson, I wanted to battle my Pokemon to the death. I hated school enough as it was. I wasn't going to read outside of lessons, who do you think I am? But it turns out because of that I didn't end up reading the tutorial to catch Pokemon, so I didn't even know catching Pokemon was a feature in the game. And being a dumb kid, I didn't question why other trainers could have multiple Pokemon, and for some reason I couldn't. It was only until I complained to my friend once I hit the 3rd gym, with my Torterra, that I was finding the game hard. To which then he was very confused why I only had one Pokemon. And it was this level of experience that set me down a dark path, thanks to one device in particular. If you couldn't tell already, I was a pretty stupid kid. I was dumb and didn't know what was going on around me half the time. To be honest, that's just how most kids are. The only thing that children are useful for is child labour. Wait, what? However, there was one thing that having less brain cells actually made me better at. And this was knowing how to get out of any situation with the least time and effort required. For example, if the teacher set me homework, I'd do it as quick as I could on the bus home. If I had to take my dogs for a walk, I'd take the shortcut through my neighbourhood, allowing 6-year-old me as much time as I wanted to eat sweets and play on my DS and Nintendo Wii. So anyway, I was trying to complete the Pokédex and realised it was going to take a bit longer than I thought. So I was trying to find the easiest and quickest way to complete the Pokédex. So what did I do? I bought one of these. And if you didn't play DS games as a kid, you probably don't know what this thing is. An action replay would allow you to get cheats on hundreds of DS games, Pokemon Diamond being one of them. So completing the Pokédex, which is known as one of the most difficult feats in the whole of the game, which would have taken hours and hours of grinding, I completed with £20 of my pocket money and 5 presses of a button. And it didn't stop there. If I wanted infinite rare candies and master balls, easily done. If I wanted shiny elusive rare Pokemon, no problem. This device turned 6-year-old me into a god with the Sinnoh region as my playground. Hell, I could even phase through walls and get to any part of the map I wanted to. And this came in clutch in one point in particular. At a point in the story, you're met by this guy. He blocks your path to the next city, telling you there's a blackout, but I could tell something wasn't right. I just was not believing him. So you know what I did? I went ahead and wall hacked right by him to figure out he was lying. There's no blackout, the houses have the lights on. This guy was a fraud, and people wonder why I have trust issues. All thanks to this guy. Thanks, Nintendo. And I was having great fun. I was using these hacks for years. I didn't even see the need of getting Pokemon Platinum because I was just having a blast doing whatever the fuck I was doing on Pokemon Diamond. If anything, these hacks helped me learn and understand the game better than I did. But after playing the game for 2 or 3 years with exploits, I began to lose interest in the game. One of the reasons why Pokemon is so enjoyable was the grind of leveling up and evolving your Pokemon through those trainer and gym battles that sometimes you'd barely make it out alive. And for me that devolved into force feeding whatever Pokemon I wanted to level up rare candies. Since I could do everything so easily, it felt like there was no reward. No Pokemon battle was competitive. I would just blow them out the water with whatever level 100 Pokemon I had at the time. And just as I was getting bored with Pokemon, Nintendo came in clutch with a new installment in the franchise. So when Heart Gold and Soul Silver were finally released, from a bit of growing up and all my past experiences on Pokemon Diamond, I was able to understand how to play a Pokemon game properly without the need of an action replay or any other exploits. And oh boy was I glad I knew how to play, because this game was incredible. Within minutes of booting up the game, I was introduced to a whole new region with Pokemon I didn't even know existed. Granted, none of these Pokemon were actually new, as these games were remakes of Pokemon Gold and Silver released all the way back in 1999. But since that game was released even before I was born, as far as I knew, those games didn't exist. So this region and Pokemon were all new to me. But when I realised these new Pokemon would follow you around in the overworld, mind blown. I felt like Ash right out the anime with Pikachu by his side. And it didn't stop there. Fed up with walking around the Johto region with your Pokemon? Well, how about you take them for a walk in real life? The game came with a pedometer called the Pokewalker that would allow you to transfer your Pokemon from the game into a portable Pokeball to take wherever you wanted. This thing was bridging the gap between real life and Pokemon, and I was all for it. But look, I could go on for hours about these games and how much fun and joy they brought to my childhood. But now that I'm older and I can look back at my times playing these games, it's only now that I can fully understand and appreciate the things that I definitely didn't even notice as a kid. I was always focused on gameplay, but there's actually so much more. When I was younger, I really didn't care about music, whether that was academically or recreationally. I never learned to play an instrument, and music lessons in school were one big joke that consisted of spamming the DJ button on my electric keyboard as much as I could. And I never really listened to music in my spare time until I was around 15-16 years old. What I'm trying to say is, back then, I didn't care about music, but now it's quite the opposite. It's no secret that music can be used to create emotion, and I don't think anyone is better at doing this than Nintendo themselves. From Pokemon to Mario Kart, and even to the Wii Shop music, all this music makes you feel something. It's clear to me that over the years Nintendo has mastered creating music which invokes these emotions. Whether it's awe, mystery, adventure, suspense or fear, the Pokemon soundtrack can make you feel this way just by using a cleverly arranged array of instruments. And by ensuring your playthrough of the game is never absent from the Pokemon soundtrack for over a second, you begin to feel the exact way Game Freak wanted you to feel. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was simple as Game Freak just selecting music that they thought fit the atmosphere, and gave it no more thought than that. Because when I heard this music for the very first time, I didn't think much of it. A lot of the times you wouldn't even notice it was there, almost like it's the backing track to your adventure, which you stop and listen to while resting after your last trainer battle. And those same songs which I didn't much care for, now hit me with a wave of nostalgia, and take me back to a time where I didn't have to worry about anything. I had no responsibilities, I was a kid. Sometimes when I'm studying and working on a project, I'd play the Pokemon soundtrack music in the background, as just something to listen to, and no song would make me reminisce harder than the Verity Lake music. After all, it's where I began my Pokemon journey, that would keep me entertained for the whole of my childhood. Occasionally I'd zone out of the work that I was doing, and just think back to choosing my first ever starter Pokemon, a feeling which you can never relive. And in these moments of reflection, I finally began to understand. It was never just the game or the music, it was the combination of the both. Without even realizing as a kid, subconsciously I was attaching memory to this music, something you only realize years later. And when hearing this music, it brings memory of the distant past flooding back. reminding you of a simpler time. I don't know how or why this happens, but I just know it does. This video is living proof of that. Maybe it's because we miss them times, and feel like we took them for granted, and since there's no way to actually relive them, this is the next closest thing there is. Every time a new Pokemon game is announced, I somewhat hope it will deliver an experience similar to what I felt playing all these games, but ever since Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, it's never really been the same for me. I get the game is aimed at children, but that doesn't make sense why I still enjoy the old games, to the point where I own every Pokemon main series DS game, and some of the old Game Boy ones which I wasn't even alive to play. I think it would be very easy of me to say everything about the new games that I dislike, but I don't think that it's the time for that right now. Turns out I still have one of my original copies of Pokemon Diamond. I say one of because that same copy I got for Christmas I ended up losing. So after pleading to my parents, I got another copy of Pokemon Diamond. So I thought I'd load up the save file and see what's left. First of all, I'd like to apologise for the quality. I don't own a DS capture card, so I did it the old fashioned way and recorded off my iPhone, kinda like how I used to when I was recording Pokemon games on my DS years ago. So I loaded up outside the Club Union room, which suggests the last time I ever played was trading or battling with a friend. I then opened my trainer card to see I had the maximum glitched amount of money, and along with my adventure starting in 2009. I then had a look at my gym badges, which haven't been cleaned for years, but oddly one still remains fairly shiny. I then had a quick look at my Pokédex, and to no surprise, it was complete, with Pokemon that I definitely never ended up even seeing, let alone catching. I then opened my bag to see exactly what I suspected, a bunch of glitched items, and obviously the rare candies and Master Balls I spoke about. There was one thing left for me to do, and that was to visit where it all started. I followed the path I once took with my rival, until we arrived at Lake Verity. I walked up to the spot where I'd gotten my first starter Pokemon from that lost briefcase. I don't know why I care about this place so much, because at the end of the day it's not even real, it's in a video game made up. But I think it's more about what it represents. Obviously this is where I began my Pokemon journey and my foray into the franchise. And because this franchise brought so much enjoyment to my childhood, and because this place is where it all began, I almost see my childhood as being synonymous with this place. I hope I've done an okay job at describing how I feel about these games, but at the end of the day it doesn't matter. What does matter is that these games exist, and without them, I don't know what I would have done as a child. And for that, I just must thank Nintendo and Game Freak for everything they brought to mine and so many other people's childhood. I think it's fitting to end this video where it started, staring over the lake where it all began.